Hi, I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. If you've been looking at our website, starborninstitute.org, you would already know that the title of tonight's show sounds a little ominous. The title is Pawns in a Game. And that is because on Saturday, we are having a full moon at 14 degrees of Gemini. And we know under a full moon that the moon opposes the sun. So the sun is going to be at 14 degrees of Sagittarius. But that's not the only planet in a fire sign. In fact, before we talk about the fire signs, we need to describe exactly the aspects that are occurring under the full moon. And it is that there are 5 planets in mutable signs. There are 4 mutable signs: Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. And so the full moon is in Gemini, yes, but it is being strongly opposed by Mercury, Gemini's own ruler, which is now in Sagittarius, along with the Sun and Venus in Sagittarius. And it is being squared by Neptune in Pisces as well. So those are the 5 planets in mutable signs. And since they are so harshly aspecting each other, this is a time that may not be good for the traditional things that Gemini rules. In fact, that full moon is sort of taking a beating right now. And that is because Gemini rules the traditional 3rd house of everyday life, your buddies, your pals, your casual acquaintances, early childhood education, your neighborhoods, and it also rules all short forms of communication, such as buying and selling and advertising or journalism. And Geminis are certainly very versatile and adaptable, and they can put a spin on just about anything. And it also rules short journeys as well, and short things such as temporary work, for instance, that's ruled by Gemini, and 2-year colleges are also ruled by Gemini. But that full moon is really taking a beating, and that is because with Neptune in Pisces squaring the full moon, it means that somebody's not being told the whole truth. And remember, Gemini rules youth. It rules young people, and certainly anyone who is a Gemini always looks younger than their age, which is great. But because Neptune is squaring the sign of Gemini, it simply means that somebody is not telling, particularly a Gemini, the whole truth. In fact, there is deception around, and there is the possibility of a cover-up as well. And then with this Mercury, the Sun, and Venus in Sagittarius, all 3 planets opposing that full moon, it can simply be that there can be interests abroad in foreign countries or in the courts or among people in higher education or who are very religious or philosophical, or there can be the courts themselves that predominate right now. In other words, there's nothing casual about them, and they can have very high standards. Those 3 planets, and people can be applauding them for that as well. I mean, Venus is there, and that's a good planet, but all 3 of those planets are opposing that full moon. And so that means things are a little rough for the things that Gemini rules, particularly for younger people who can be pawns in a game. And that game could be a game of one-upmanship. And that is because there are people that could take advantage of younger people right now, or people of any age who are not very well educated. And that is because the people that could take advantage are the people that are well educated. Maybe they would get the jobs that others are not qualified for at this time. Or it can be that there can be people who are rulers of countries or of organizations. Maybe they want some cheap labor. Maybe they want to enlist people in order to be in an army. In other words, we've heard of children fighting as soldiers in armies. That is something that could be occurring right now. And that would lead to a lot of exploitation of young people. The reason why exploitation is somewhat compounded now is because Mars, that planet of greed and energy and a dynamic change and of war, has now moved into Aquarius, the sign of the future. Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, the planet of sudden change and eccentricity. And because it rules surprising change, it could be change for the best or it could be change for the worst as well. And particularly with Mars there, it could be a change that we would all regret because it would have an adverse effect on our future, which is what Aquarius rules. But that Mars is trining the full moon in Gemini on Saturday. And so those two planets in trine to each other means there can be trouble brewing, there can be exploitation of young people, but that exploitation would not be for a very good reason, and it could really hurt them. And it wouldn't be just the young, it could be anybody who doesn't have a very good education as well. So we have to be really careful and guard our younger people right now because they could be in danger. And this could happen throughout the world because remember, those planets in Sagittarius rule foreign countries and they are overpowering that full moon right now, which is in a little bit of trouble. So we have that to look forward to, sort of a heightened alert as far as young people go. And that is why if you want to participate in anything where you are exploiting or taking advantage of someone else, at least you'll be seen doing that, and that can itself be advertised or promoted in some way. And you know, the world can simply look on and see that this is happening. If you're responsible for it, they'll see you doing that as well. But if you're not, if instead you are seeing that children are being exploited or the people who are uneducated are being taken advantage of, then there is the possibility that you may be able to do something about it, but it would be after the fact. In other words, if the trouble arises, if there is some sudden abductions or if there is some sudden slaughter of younger people, or if they themselves are doing malicious acts, we may see it reported, but we may not be able to do anything exactly at the moment because it's sort of on a wave of action going forward. And the reason why there can be a wave of action right now is because that Sun and Mercury and Venus in Sagittarius are being trined by Uranus in Aries, and they're also being trined by Jupiter in Leo. So there is a grand trine in fire signs, meaning that people are on the march. It could be whole armies on the march, and they are wanting to sort of take over or dominate or be the leaders right now. But it may not be for a very good end. And the reason why is that Leo, the sign of leadership, does have Jupiter in it. That's wonderful. But it is now being opposed by Mars in Aquarius. And that isn't so good, particularly not for anybody's future. And that's what we have to watch out for. So try to guard your loved ones right now. It's more important to do that than anything else, so that they cannot be exploited in any way. Okay, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Well, Aries, remember, you could certainly be on a roll or in a big hurry right now. You could be traveling, or maybe you just came back from your travels over the holidays and you can be catching up with work and sort of busy and very excited right now. You could even be making plans to go back to something that you've done before, but to do it in a new way. And that would make you feel great for two reasons. First of all, since you've done it before, it would be easy. And secondly, you'd be sort of your own boss. And I think that you would really like that. Since Mars and Pluto have both been in Capricorn for a while, Mars has moved on now, but Pluto is still there, questioning your activities and your work performance, and that questioning is coming from management, and it's going to stay that way for years, Aries. And so if you don't like to be questioned about what you're doing and you're fully confident of yourself, then it is a wise idea to move on. And this is an excellent time to do it because there's going to be a trine in fire signs all month, and January is the same way. So if you're going somewhere, I wish you well, Aries, because you could be on a real roll right now, and it would turn out very successfully as well. Okay, what does it mean to Taurus? Well, Taurus, this is simply a time when, no, you don't want to be in the fast lane along with an awful lot of other people that are behind. Maybe they're trying to meet deadlines. Maybe they're in just a real rush because of the Christmas rush. And no, that isn't the way you like to work at all. You sort of like to be successful, but sort of on the first try, not with a series of tries. And so this is a time when you need to marshal your forces, Taurus, because there is a lot of resistance among the fixed signs right now, and yours is a fixed sign. And by that I mean that Mars is now in Aquarius and it is squaring your Sun, which means that someone else with a lot of vision wants to move ahead on their plans and they are not willing to include you in them, and that can be a little worrisome. And also, Jupiter in Leo is squaring your Sun, and it's been that way for a while. It's going to continue that way until next summer, and that could make you a little bit extravagant and spending a little more money than you've got right now, so you have to be careful of that. And then Saturn in Scorpio is nearing the end of the sign, and it is opposing your Sun sign as well. So there are 3 real heavy-duty planets in the fixed signs right now, harshly aspecting your Sun, and that simply means that you've really got to stick to the long view right now, Taurus, and that is because Pluto is in Capricorn and it does trine your Sun. So that means that there can be a pension around that it has been piling up, and that's the good news, Taurus. The bad news is you may have to use part of it to cover expenses right now, and that is because the expenses could have come about rather suddenly. Or it can be that you hadn't quite been paying all your taxes, and now the tax bill is due as well. So I think you've got some financial problems to straighten out right now, Taurus. What does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, the full moon is in your Sun sign on Saturday, but it is beleaguered, and that is because the 3 planets in Sagittarius are opposing it, which means love is at a distance. And also, you may not be hearing from people at a distance, or they may perhaps are a little slow to respond to your communications as well, because your own ruler is in Sagittarius opposing your Sun. That is never very good for a Sun sign to have their ruler in bad aspect to the sign itself, because that means you really can't operate as effectively as you would like to. And that can be because other people sort of have the floor, or they're the ones doing all the talking and not giving you a chance to speak your mind as well. And Neptune in Pisces is squaring your Sun, which means people are not telling you the whole truth, or there is a cover-up around somewhere. So Gemini, I think that since Mars in Aquarius is trining that full moon on Saturday, it simply means somebody could want to sort of light a fire under you, Gemini, and maybe even get you in a little bit of trouble. And that's because they really have their own idea of the future, and they may want to enlist your help in seeing that their plans succeed right now. I don't think their plans are going to completely succeed. Aquarius is a fixed sign, and there's trouble in the fixed signs right now. So if I were you, Gemini, I would, even though there's going to be a lot of light on you from that full moon, I would say that unless you are being at your very best, this may be a better time for you to be very quiet and stand in the background. Try not to get in a fight with anybody, and don't take the bait if somebody is trying to sort of con you or deceive you in some way. This would be a very good time for you just to mind your own business and not say anything, Gemini. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, a Cancer, this is a time when I think that once again you just have to cling to your own ideas and be sort of happy at home, Cancer, because there's a lot of people in the fast lane right now with that grand trine in fire signs. And, you know, working in a speedy way is not the way you like to work, and particularly not if it involves problem solving, because you're better at solving problems just a little bit at a time, and you do that very thoroughly. You never have to go back. In other words, you're very effective that way. So this is a time when you have to be quietly effective, Cancer. And so I wouldn't try to stand out if I were you at all. And the reason why is that people have deadlines on their mind, or they're in a rush to do what they want to do. There can be sort of a a combination of people that want to sort of surge ahead, or maybe be the leader, or be first in line, or be very competitive. And that isn't really the way you like to operate, Cancer. So I would advise you to step back and be very quiet, and you know, don't try to offer a suggestion to anybody right now. First of all, they're not going to slow down enough to even listen to you. So save your breath, Cancer, and concentrate on having the family home for the holidays. That's just enough. You won't miss anything else, Cancer, because a lot of people are going to be in such a hurry that they're going to make mistakes that could be costly. So if you stay out of it, then you won't need to worry about that at all. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, this is a time when you can be supercharged and very lucky, because the 3 planets in Sagittarius trine your sun, where you have Jupiter, and Uranus in Aries also trines your sun. That's great, except that some of those planets are under duress. Remember, I said there are 5 planets in the mutable signs. So the planets in Sagittarius are actually opposing the full moon in Gemini, and they themselves are being squared by Neptune in Pisces. So there can be subterfuge going on right now, or somebody who wants to put an effective spin on something in order to cover up something really bad. And so, you know, you need to stay out of it, Leo. And the reason why is you can have your mind on traveling. You can have your mind on parties and fun. And you can be very popular right now. That's enough to do, Leo. This is a golden time when you should be really enjoying the holidays. And you can be quite generous, but you also have to remember that there are some heavy-duty planets in fixed signs, and they are harshly aspecting your sun sign. Mars has now moved into Aquarius and is opposing your sun sign, and that means you're not going to be quite as lucky as you think, Leo. You're going to have to be very careful of competitive people who may want to rush ahead and spoil your future plans. So I would keep them under wraps, or keep them very quiet, so that you don't alert others to what your plans are. That might be the safest way to protect them. And also Saturn in Scorpio is squaring your sun, and that simply means the bills really have to be paid, including taxes, and that time is coming up, and your credit could be a bit stretched right now due to your own generosity, Leo. So you have to be really careful and sort of not go overboard right now. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, this is simply a time when I think that you have to be very, very careful and pretty much do nothing. You know, like that little monkey that sees no evil, hears no evil, and speaks no evil. And the reason why is that yours is a mutable sign, and that full moon is squaring your sun, and the Sun, Venus, and Mercury, your own ruler in Sagittarius, are also squaring your sun, and Neptune in Pisces is opposing it. You have 5 planets in the other mutable signs, all in harsh aspect to your sun sign, Virgo. And that simply means that I think that you have been singled out as a shining example of how to do everything right. And there's a whole lot of people that might resent you for that, Virgo, simply because they're jealous, or simply because you're the one that has worked really hard and you do deserve the accolades or the recognition and rewards. But there are people that can sort of want to be better than they are, and they don't want to do the work, but they just want a high paycheck and a great title. And that isn't the way you work at all. In fact, your sign rules modesty, so you could underrate yourself. In fact, that's what Virgos generally do, when actually other people are not doing that to you, Virgo. They value you. And so this is just a time when you need to be as quiet as possible, because that way you will not be inviting comment. And plenty of people have a lot on their mind, and you, I don't think, want to hear it right now, Virgo. So stay out of things, okay? All right, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, this is simply a time when you can sort of perk up and, of course, be very busy as we approach the holidays. And that is because the full moon in Gemini does trine your sun, meaning there is an opportunity for a short trip, or working with younger people. Or you can get some help, some part-time help, to get you over the busy holidays. And that might be a good idea, Libra, because I think you got a lot to do this holiday season. And at the same time, Mars in Aquarius is trining your sun, which means that someone else has a future vision that they want to see done immediately. And yet, I think that if you respond to them in a constructive way, that could do you some good. It isn't that they want to hurt you or anything. They might just want to sort of work you to death right now, Libra. But there could be something in it for you as well, because both planets, the full moon and Mars in Aquarius, are trining your sun. And that lends your sun sign support. You just have to be a little careful not to fall for anybody's little white lies right now. And that is why you need to stick to the facts if you can, Libra. Don't waste your time talking, because you're going to be real busy this Christmas. Okay, what does it mean to Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, excuse me, I have a little cold. Excuse me. Scorpio, this is a time when you really mean business. And the reason why you really mean business is that, excuse me, Saturn is in your sign where it has been for almost 3 years. It's leaving on Christmas Eve, but it is very close to the end of the sign now. It's at the 28th degree, and it will soon be at the 29th degree, which is the degree of fate. And that's why I say you really mean business. Saturn is a planet that requires people to do everything right and work twice as hard for their rewards, which is what you've been doing for the last few years. But it is now being squared by Mars in Aquarius, and Mars and Saturn are two malefic planets. When they are in harsh aspect to each other, it means double trouble. And so there is somebody who could be very malicious toward you. They're not going to knock you over, Scorpio, but they could sure try. And that is why you have to be very careful, particularly when traveling. When Mars is in Aquarius, which rules aviation, it's not a good time to fly. So if I were you, I would plan a quiet Christmas at home, Scorpio, because that could be the safest place for you. And Jupiter in Leo is also squaring your sun, which could make you a little bit extravagant. And this isn't the time for that, because with Neptune in Pisces trining your sun, you could make a dream come true, Scorpio, if you just sort of held on to your money right now and planned carefully. The timing on that would be closer to the spring under a wonderful solar eclipse, which will occur at 29 degrees of Pisces, trining your sun sign. So that's what you need to look forward to. So sort of lay back and be patient right now, Scorpio. And I know you really mean business, but somebody else could be quite harmful or quite jealous of you. So you need to have your guard up too, Scorpio, all the way through the holidays. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarius? Well, Sagittarius, you just have such wonderful planets in your sign. Lucky you. You end the year wonderfully well, Sagittarius, and in a very popular way, and you can be very busy. But you have the best intentions, and that is because Mercury is in your sign, so is the Sun, and so is Venus. And they are all being trined by Uranus in Aries and Jupiter in Leo. So this is just an optimum time for you to put your best foot forward, Sagittarius, because you can have nice and wonderful things to say to people, and you can generate love and a feeling of brotherhood right now. You may even decide to teach or to help others out in some way. So that full moon is not going to intimidate you in any way, because there's more planets in your sign than there are in Gemini. And so that simply means that you'll sort of be at your best right now, Sagittarius. And it won't be having to do with casual matters, or you're not going to be taking something that's just temporary. You can go forward now in a way that denotes your skill in communication, and you can use that skill to really do well in a job. So I wish you the best of luck and a Merry, Merry Christmas, because I think you're going to have one. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, that Gemini full moon on Saturday is 150 degrees away from your sun or in conjunct. So it may not affect you directly, but the thing that is going to affect you, Capricorn, is the fact that Mars has now moved out of your sign and it has moved into Aquarius, right in front of your sign. And it trines the full moon, so it will be activated in one way or another. And I think that you could see trouble brewing right in front of you, Capricorn, but I urge you not to be a fixer right now. Don't try to fix anything. First of all, it won't hold. It'll be temporary. Gemini rules only temporary things, and that's where the full moon is. But also there's a grand trine in fire sign, so there's plenty of people rushing around being real busy, and they're skipping steps. And that is not something you really like to do. You like to be thorough and methodical, Capricorn. So I would say that you just need to sit back and mind your own business and do your own job. You're coming into a time when you're going to be very powerful. That will be around your birthday. But for right now, you just need to sit back and watch everybody else zoom forward. They may not stay forward. They might go in reverse, or they might be making a lot of mistakes. And that's why you need to stay out of that. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, you have Mars in your sun sign, and it is trining that full moon in Gemini on Saturday. So you are getting the passive moon in Gemini, the full moon, trining your own sun, which means you can be attracting somebody who's very nice and it wants to go along with everybody else. And there can be young people around that are putting their trust in and faith in you, and that can all be absolutely wonderful, unless you want to exploit them for one reason or another, getting them to work really hard, or taking advantage of the fact that they don't have much education, and therefore they could sort of swallow a plan that that could lead them down a path that could be destructive or malevolent. And so you really need to make sure that you're on the right track right now, Aquarius, because there are other planets in fixed signs that are harshly aspecting Mars in your own sign. And believe me, with Saturn squaring Mars in your own sign, there is a financial problem that is not only not going to go away, I think that somebody has decided they're not even going to deal with you anymore on that. And for that reason, there's going to be a parting of the ways. In the meantime, though, you could be taking a wonderful short trip, or you could be buying and selling, and you would be very good at that. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, a Pisces, this is a good time to lay low. And the reason why is that yours is a mutable sign. And remember, Neptune in your sign is squaring the full moon in Gemini, and it is also squaring the Sun, Mercury, and Venus in Sagittarius. This is not exactly the right time for you to speak up, Pisces. You could have some pretty good news. You could be able to, you could want to tell people about a dream of yours that you think you can make come true. And of course, the timing is just right around your birthday for that to happen. But it would be premature to announce that right now because, for one thing, nobody's listening. And for two, there could be some very jealous people, particularly in the background of your life. Remember, Mars is in Aquarius right behind your sun. And so you need to be careful and not let people know what you're doing right now, Pisces. Just sort of smile and get through the holidays right now and keep focused on that dream because it is going to come true. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, you can see the show anytime you want by subscribing to it on our website, starborninstitute.org. Bye.